I've been truthful and consistent on every single level since day one. I would not be my mother's son if I was capable of one drop of what I've been accused of.
Tonight in Chicago, the Windy City. This was a nor'easter no one saw coming.
Prosecutors dropping all charges against the actor for allegedly staging that hate crime attack.
In return for him forfeiting his bond to the city of Chicago and doing community service, we agreed to dismiss the charges against him.
Smollett had alleged his attackers used a noose, hurled racial slurs. Now the entire case ordered sealed by the court, like it never happened.
I was stunned. Stunned.
Does this mean he actually made up this story or not?
I got to tell you, I was on the floor.
This, the latest plot twist in a tale of constantly changing roles. Smollett, cast as a victim only a month ago, before turning into a villain.
Jussie Smollett took advantage of the pain and anger of racism to promote his career.
And now, in the eyes of his supporters, vindicated.
We have nothing to say to the police department except to investigate charges and not try their cases in the press.
While Smollett and his team couldn't get to their awaiting Suburban fast enough, Chicago authorities couldn't talk louder or long enough.
It's Mr. Smollett who committed this hoax, period. If he wanted to clear his name, the way to do that was in a court of law so that everyone could see the evidence.
This is an unbelievable, not just whitewash of justice, this is a person now who's been let off scot-free with no sense of accountability of the moral and ethical wrong of his actions.
There are a lot of people who are very upset about this. There were dozens of Chicago police officers, detectives working on this case.
The decision did not include any condition that Smollett apologize or admit any wrongdoing. Assistant State's Attorney Joe Maggots explaining it is a question of resources.
Our number one priority is combating violent crime and the drivers of violence. And we look to use our resources to do that. And I don't think that Mr. Smollett is a driver of violence, and nor was he someone who's a violent criminal.
At the same time, siding with the police in what many criticize as a contradiction.
We stand behind the investigation and the facts that it revealed.
What does that mean?
It means that we believe he did what he was charged with doing.
So you believe that he lied on the police report?
Yes, this was not an exoneration. To say that he was exonerated by us or anyone else is not true.
He went out of his way to say that he found no problems with the investigation or the evidence that was collected either. To say it's the interest of the city or whoever it was to dismiss it was quite unusual.
It can't be that their position is that they're not going to prosecute any cases that don't involve violent crime. That just makes no sense. You can argue that they could have reached a plea agreement where he served no time, but that's not what happened here.
Smollett had seemed to have it all: fame, a hit show. Then on the morning of January 29th, it all turned upside down.
Don't have a last name on the cell phone regarding a friend that was assaulted and battered when he walked out of his apartment.
Smollett claimed he was walking home from a subway when he said two men in MAGA hats physically attacked him, spewing racist and homophobic slurs at the actor, who is openly gay. Adding insult to injury, he said the perpetrators put a noose around his neck.
He's supposed to be well-known, requesting a report. Instead, a noose was placed over the friend's neck. EMS has refused.
When we first heard about this allegation, certainly that really shocked so many of us here in the news business and, of course, in the community. But as that day went on, there were people questioning the details of this. So outlandish. Could this really have happened the way he said?
When I first heard about this, I was suspicious. The idea that you've got a noose and you've got 2 in the morning and you've got MAGA supporters who watch Empire, who recognized him right away, it was all a little bit hard to believe.
Police immediately began investigating, releasing these images of 2 potential persons of interest. Meanwhile, questions lingered about the actor's account.
Police were saying that he wasn't cooperating entirely in terms of giving over his phone. There were questions. Then he does the interview on Good Morning America.
As I was crossing the intersection, I heard Empire. And I don't answer to Empire. My name ain't Empire. I kept walking, and then I heard Empire. So I turned around and I said, "Did you just say to me?" And I turned around and I see the attacker, masked, and he said, "This MAGA country," punches me right in the face. So I punched his back. And then we started tussling. There was a second person involved who was kicking me in my back. And then it just stopped. And they ran off. It felt like minutes, but it probably was like 30 seconds, honestly. I can't tell you honestly. I noticed the rope around my neck and I started screaming. And I said, "There's a rope around my neck. They put a rope around my neck."
On February 16th, police identified these two suspects, two brothers. Then, a shocking twist.
Smollett further detailed that he wanted Abel to attack him, but not hurt him too badly.
The scratches and bruising that you saw on his face was most likely self-inflicted.
Chicago authorities allege that Smollett had hired the brothers, staged the attack, a hoax, a scam, arguing he didn't simply play the race card, he played them all. Racism, homophobia, victimization.
From the very beginning, we had some questions about it.
Smollett turned himself in to Chicago police, the superintendent with an impassioned rebuke of a fallen star.
I'm left hanging my head and asking why. Why would anyone, especially an African-American man, use the symbolism of a noose to make false accusations? How can an individual who's been embraced by the city of Chicago turn around and slap everyone in this city in the face by making these false claims?
The Smollett case was the latest incident in a community with a deep-seated distrust of the authorities.
The Chicago Police Department did not come into this incident with any credibility in the black community. The Chicago Police Department is known for police brutality. It's known for denying the killings of unarmed people.
Many of those incidents were documented in a 2017 Justice Department investigation, including shooting at fleeing suspects who present no immediate threat, and the killing of 17-year-old Laquan McDonald, who was shot 16 times by then-officer Jason Van Dyke, setting off protests throughout Chicago for years. 16 shots! Van Dyke was found guilty of second-degree murder and aggravated battery and sentenced to almost 7 years in prison. Now, many fear that the Smollett case will have a chilling effect on the reporting of hate crimes.
If you're the victim of a hate crime, you're going to be even more reluctant to come forward because you don't want to be re-victimized and even criminalized for coming forward.
While the FBI continues to investigate if Smollett was behind the threatening letters sent to him before the alleged staged attack, he returned today to his role as a celebrity, surrounded by fans, even posing for a selfie.
This wasn't much of a deal. As a legal matter, this seems to be a huge win for Jussie Smollett, and I would argue a huge loss for everybody else.
This has been an incredibly difficult time, honestly one of the worst of my entire life. Now I'd like nothing more than to just get back to work and move on with my life.
In the end, it may be all lost something.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.